Good morning. Let's remove that. How's everybody doing? We had a busy weekend. If you are a dad or a father, a true father, happy Father's Day. I hope you guys had a good Father's Day. Hope your kids spoiled you. Hope they gave you lots of gifts, lots of spoilings, or at least make you feel like you've done something worthwhile, right? Get some people in here, and then I've actually got a topic to talk about. Um, I shared a video with a channel called Living Freed. Oh, let's turn that down so there's no echo. And see if I can find my community page here. And my internet connection's kind of slow today. Let's see. Let's click on. I want to click on that. It's going to make a noise. Go to your channel. Let's go to community. Number one reason you will fail in trucking. It was by the Living Freed channel. I'm not sure how I stumbled on this dude, but he's got some pretty common sense things. I think someone pointed his channel out to me and was like, "Hey, this guy, you and him do a lot of the same stuff, right? As far as what we talk about and all that." And I don't watch everything that he does, but that title captured my attention because he's using the analytics, right? And it's basically just some honest advice, and it brought me. It takes time, right? It takes time. And this is what it got me thinking about. It takes time. We mentioned the YouTube people on YouTube doing the showing how successful they are. They're fleet owners or they're owner operators or recruiters or whatever. I'll do the shout outs as soon as we get some more people in here. And he made a good point. One point that I'll make is that sometimes what you see on social media isn't the whole story. Well, not sometimes, a lot of times, all the time, right? And there are people putting out a persona. There are people putting out like things are this way, but in reality, and then all of a sudden, a month later, they're selling their truck because they can't afford to live, and you're like, wait a minute, you're telling me how to succeed in trucking, and then next thing you know, you're not even making it yourself. So come to find out that their truck was giving them hell or anything like that. And that's why I've always tried to be honest with my channel, is because I want people. I mean, I've had people actually blame me and other YouTube truckers for their shortcomings, and there's one of my pet peeves besides tailgating with truck drivers is the blame shifting. General human trait, actually, just blame shifting. It's all these external problems. I don't have patience for that because I used to be that way. I was having this conversation with one of my kids. I've had him with both the kids. How I used to blame everyone else for my situation. I used to blame the city of Springfield. I used to blame our school system. I would blame my dad. I would blame my mom. I would blame where we lived. And when I stopped doing that, that's when I actually started to get somewhere in life. You know, if you, well, I can't really do specifics because I don't want people to think I'm picking on them. But anyways, so the reality is that people watch people on YouTube. Now, I got that truck behind me, right? A lot of people give me grief that I'm not running it, but I've put myself in a position where I don't have to run it. And I'll give you an example. So when I bought my first truck, our goal was to pay it off and to buy a second truck and put somebody in the first truck. And that would all be done under Landstar's authority, and I would pay somebody, you know, because my wife has said you'd make a good truck boss. I agree with that, Donnie. And like I said, I'll get to the shout outs here. I want to get this point out before it leaves me. And this ain't going to be no 2 hour morning with a bunch of brokers and everything because I've got 3 trucks to book today. Um, as time went on, we hit a small recession, and I realized that that wasn't really even realistic. Not with the limitations of what I saw at Landstar, not with the cost of running the truck, because these were all things that I did not take into account. So you learn things the hard way. So went to Schneider for the consistency, was able to build up my business. Truck took a dump on the turbo. That put me in debt a little bit because I wasn't putting money aside like I should. Um, got the turbo fixed. Went and bought the truck you see behind me, and because it got better fuel mileage, lower truck payment, and it was a truck that I actually liked, and I learned a few things about maintenance, I hit the ground rolling. And that is what I built my foundation. So when Jeff started talking about getting his authority, evidently I was, one of the first couple that were invited to that situation because he knew that I was, a good driver. Um, and he also knew that there were a lot of aspects of business that I needed to learn, which I started to learn. I started tracking my numbers. I started using the short haul method that he taught me. And for a long time, when he got his numbers, he was telling me the numbers, right? He would do, okay, worst case scenario, you could survive off of this. The spot market, you could do this, this, and this. You've already got experience because, Landstar is kind of a similar platform, and he just did a cost breakdown. So it was like a month long or however long, interview. But we'd already been friends for a while. And then and once I was over here at Like Trucking, he started to talk about, opportunities within the company as the company grew. Now, did we have a couple of rough patches? Yeah, I had to learn a couple of hard lessons of what it takes to run a carrier and how your first 5 guys need to run. And I wasn't a runner. And so that created some instability, but we got over it. And meanwhile, I had other people from other authorities offer me positions. But, I decided, I'd show some loyalty, stick this out. And the 5-year plan was to get in a position set up similar to what I've seen other friends with their authorities do as far as bringing people in to help manage the company. And that's exactly what I've done. But that took years to do that. It took, what, 4 years? 4 years of being here before that position came open. And meanwhile, I worked on other streams of income. I got I got mute that. I got a little bit of luck. I had some family stuff I was able to deal with, but for the most part, I knew that eventually another recession was coming, and I knew that I didn't want 100% to rely on my truck for all my income because of what's happening today. But that took time. Now you can sit there and say, "Well, Steve, your advice is invalid because you're not a runner." Well, I know that I'm not a runner. Can I be a runner if I want to or need to? Absolutely. I can go out there and run 600-mile loads a day, 600 miles a day, 700 miles a day if needed. I can run that stuff. I can do that. Been there. I've done that. See, that's the thing. I've done that kind of stuff. I've been to all the states. I've run the oddball areas. I've run the good areas. I've run the Northeast. I've run the Southeast. I've run all the states except Nevada. People in Nevada tend to be sketchy, so I want to avoid that state. But anyways, that's a joke. Don't get your ego tied up. And but it's taken me a long time to do that. And I have the experience. So people, well, how can you be a good dispatcher, Steve, if you're not a runner and you only know one area, one lane? Well, because I have experience. It took time to develop that experience. There are times when I'll help John Armstrong there, who's in the chat. Good morning. With the situation. He's like, how do you know all that? Well, because I've done it. And if I haven't done it, I know people that have. So it takes time. It takes time to create a foundation. It's if you just don't, okay, I'm going to build a house. There's a plot of land. All right, get the wood, get the brick. No, you got to create a foundation. You got to set up the utilities. You got to set up where the water drainage is going to be. You got to set up, if you're doing virgin land, there's a whole, you got the financing, you've got you got to develop, you got to find the builders, you got to find the floor plan. Before the first nail is ever driven, there has to be a foundation. There has to be a plan. And it takes time. When I build boats, the boats that I built were the Tracker Marine, Tundra, and Avalanches, which were basically aluminum boats meant to look like fiberglass boats, which took a lot of internal welding, a lot of grinding, a lot of body work. And if we had the time, we could put out quality product. But as they wanted more, quota, then, quality goes out the window for quantity. Next thing you know, a couple of years later, that boat model gets a bad rap and it goes by the wayside. Huge waste of money because nobody wanted to take the time to create the foundation. And this is a corporate level thing that I see. This isn't just like, oh, you're an idiot out of high school that doesn't know about this stuff. No, you have corporate people that they want it now. They want it now. You order some on Amazon, you want it tomorrow. It's in overseas, right? People pay $10, $12, $14 a month for Amazon Prime because they They think it gets their stuff faster. I mean, I've ordered stuff on Amazon. I'm like, hey, I want these $2. Well, if you want them tomorrow, it's going to be an extra $10. Well, I don't need them, so I'll wait the week for free shipping. Seems like a win-win for me, right? Anthony Bressler, good morning. How are you doing? Trucker for Life, how are you doing? Sage News, I saw that you just put out a video right before I went live. John Armstrong, good morning. Hope that things are going well. Miss Charles, good morning. Donnie Luke, blame shifting is what? That's what that's what all the administrations do. Donnie Luke. The Mac Brick, good morning. Jesse Bennett, good morning. Big Tex Trucking. He was a big part of where I am today because he's the one that helped me at Landstar, and then we both went to Schneider, and he's the one that introduced me to Jeffrey Like, and the rest is history. Clyde, good morning. Hope you're doing well. Not just time, but also patience and knowledge. But I agree, it takes time to build something that will last. Right. And Charles is a perfect example of that. There were people that were like, hey, jump to the spot market, jump to the spot market. Come over here. Once we knew he existed because we met him at Matt's. You're like, hey, we come to Like Trucking, come to Like Trucking. He's like, no, I'm not ready yet. And then he just jumped to his own authority with the Snyder Finance truck, mind you, and the sole breadwinner. A lot of this stuff that takes a lot of people out. But when you talk to Charles, you know that he will make it because he has time, he has patience. And if he doesn't know something, he knows the people that do know something. Sam I Am, good morning. Scott SRO, Mr. SST, what's up? Trucking with T-Bone, morning. Hope you're doing okay, T-Bone. It's supply and demand right now. Warehouses are full and stores will be having mass sales and don't want to lose the ship goods they don't need yet, right? It's and look, if you create a foundation, Sage brings up a good point. If you create a foundation and you're aware of the situation and you're aware of the patterns, how do I know how to deal with the down market? Well, because I've dealt with it, right? I've dealt with several down markets. I've been an owner operator since 2014. And I've dealt with down markets. Literally 6 months into my trek at Landstar, down market. And what was interesting is at that time, the DAT average got down to a certain number, and Landstar's average was still above that. But then one day, someone just hit the switch. And now Schneider was a little bit more gradual. Like all of a sudden, maybe the normal loads that you like doing, because everybody finds a groove. No one's zigzagging all over the place doing something new every time. That's a lot more stressful at Schneider. So people would find a groove and they would stay there. That was because it created consistency, right? And so whenever somebody like Frito Lay or Niagara Water decided, hey, we're not shipping anything this month, or they would switch it to the company side, you found yourself, what do I do? What do I do? Because you didn't have the ability to adapt. So, Jeff and I and Charles and Steve Berger, we've all taught people, hey, remember how you looked at the low board to find the freight that you normally knew? Well, you can do that in any area and make it work. And so you create your own consistency as well. But there were times when Schneider freight would fall off or the trailer pool would get sketchy, and you just had to adapt. But there was never really a huge drop in rates unless fuel was going down, because obviously the fuel surcharge is getting lower, right? So But Jeff showed me his quarters for the last 2 or 3 years at Schneider, and they were pretty consistent. Maybe there might be a difference of like maybe 10 or 12 grand between each quarter, and a lot of that was taking time off and all that. So, and you can create that in the spot market, but just realize that if you do the same loads like I do, you do the same loads, there's going to be one year where you're getting $1,000 a pop, and then the next year there might be $600 a pop. And so it's tough mentally to go, you know what, I'm doing the same work for less money. That's a tough pill to swallow. It's kind of like if you're working a normal job, you come in one day and they're like, hey, instead of $12 an hour, you're getting $10 an hour today. Oh, by the way, you got to work twice as hard because so and so didn't show up. You got to make extra coffee or whatever the job is. That's a tough pill to swallow. The other aspect is this: I was having a conversation with a person Saturday, and this person, you know, he was telling me a situation, and it looks kind of grave for him at this point. Um, Even though he's doing all the right moves, but a couple of things outside of his control have happened, and it's affecting him, right? But no, John, I'm not talking about you. Um, here's another mental thing of becoming an owner operator. So let's say you save up about, I don't know, 30 grand, and you're working a company job that's bringing this consistent money, and your spouse is used to this money, and then they see this big huge money in the bank, and they don't understand the willingness to want to have a business. Some do, some don't, right? But let's say they don't. And so you decide to go into business. Next thing you know, the money that you thought was coming in is not coming in, and you're watching that $25,000 deplete out of your savings, or 30, whatever it is. And they don't understand, wow, we're not only using, not only are you bringing home less money, but you're also gone a lot more. And I'm watching this huge amount of cash that we could use go out the wayside. That my wife doesn't even like looking at my bills at all. Like, she's just like, I'm trusting you to make sure it's taken care of, because it freaks her out because the amount of money. And so that's another hurdle that you have to consider. And when diesel's $6-7 a gallon, that's a tough pill to sell. Well, I just realized I'm being fanboy here. Cattle hauling, good morning. Mr. Free, simple concept. Do what you have to do so you can do what you want to do. It's that simple, right, Mr. Free? It is literally that simple. But it takes time, right? So long goes so long with so little, you can do anything with practically nothing. I like that. The less you desire, the richer man is instantly. This, that, Mr. Free, I like you, man. You are spot on. It looks bleak for a lot of us out here. The fuel is eating everything that we've built up. And that's what's scary. I mean, that could happen to me. If drivers can't afford the percentage that we charge for dispatch, then is my job really secure? If I'm getting paid for safety in the structure that Jeff is paying me, if we lose half our fleet, that doesn't do him good, doesn't do me good. So that's why I developed other streams of income outside of the trucking space, because that's going to be important. Sterling, good morning from Truckee, California. Don Schonger, good morning. Ratman Roden, may start the truck today, may not. Isn't that a good place to be, though? Ratman's the master of multiple streams, right? Multiple streams. A fellow driver on DIY Live had his diesel stolen from truck, $1,000. Yes, it's that is reality. That's why I'm glad I park out front of my house. If you're home a lot and you park your truck away from your house, that is definitely a big risk right now. And you're going to see more and more of that. And the locking caps, you know how they're getting around that, people? They're drilling holes. Yes, I have Godzilla as a ringtone. Drilling holes. People are doing that with gas tanks. They get underneath, drill a hole, collect the gas, out the door. That just happened to me with my wife. Went to the hospital. I was there for a week, and I watched the bank account go down fast. And the time I had to stay home and help her. That's yeah. I mean that's it doesn't take much, right? All the Peterbilt locking caps are keyed the same. Jeez. Oh, are you kidding me? That's funny. But locking caps make you feel better, right? They make you feel better. They make you go, I'm doing my part. And that's going to be, look, there was a video on, I think it was TikTok or Facebook. Someone shared with me that there was a truck going to truck stop stealing fuel, and the sleeper had been gutted. And in the back, they had like 55-gallon barrels of diesel that they were storing inside the truck. Ryan, good morning. True. And the thing about locking caps that I've experienced is that come wintertime, that becomes a pain in the ass. So I'm kind of indifferent when it comes to locking caps, because a lock only stops an honest man or a lazy thief. If they want that fuel, they're going to get it. If they got to drill a hole, they'll do it. So drills make noise, but if you're parked in a situation where you're not near your truck and no one else is near, then that's when fuel can get stolen. The other thing I would suggest is that, how many of you are like, well, I need a shower credit, so I'm going to get fuel first and then go take a shower? How many of you do that? If someone's watching, guess what? They're like, that dude just walked in the truck stop with a shower bag after getting fuel. Prime target. I've had friends that literally happened to. Nothing witty. Good morning, Ryan. Like only keeps an honest person honest. That is true. If they want it, they're going to get it. Right? There's a lot of local footage of a lot of the local construction crews losing their diesel around here. So it's definitely a thing. You did not miss anything. Forget locking caps, put non-potable water stickers on your tanks. I don't know if that would work either, because a lot of people don't read or don't want to read or can't read. That's still a thing. So But anyways, the whole point of the video is that it takes time to build a foundation. So if you're, a guy that's holding a CDL and you've only been driving for 6 months, and you see a fleet owner on YouTube talking all big, and your owner operator talking about how awesome everything is, just know that it took time to get there. And if they don't mention that, then they're being dishonest. It takes time to develop. Now, on the same token, though, you have people that get impatient. They have their authority for a year, and then they want to, imitate Jeffrey Like and want to get up to 10 trucks within the first year. Guess what? That insurance renewal becomes a bear. Now your foundation just crumbled because it was a weak foundation. It takes time. And as Charles said, it takes time and patience and knowledge. Have I ever had my authority? No, but I do know, because of what I've seen other people go through, is that, your first year, you don't want to grow. You just want to become a one truck pony. One truck show, I guess, not a one trick pony. And learn the business, learn the paperwork, learn the IFTA, learn all the documentation you got to keep. Develop a system with the thought in mind of what would I do if I had a second or third or fourth truck. And you just kind of build off of that. Then the first year you acquire your next individual, and that is a whole different ball game in and of itself. Because believe it or not, just because someone owns a truck and owns a trailer and has their own plate doesn't mean that they have their act together. No. Because as Charles pointed out, these fuel prices are destroying foundations. People that would normally have maintenance money don't. So what happens is now you're looking at the end of the day, you're like, wow, I'm only bringing home X amount, and the check engine light's on. And I didn't have the money to set aside because of this, that, and the other. That's tough. It'd be like, well, stay out of the toll areas. Well, what if you live in Pennsylvania? Stay out of the West. Well, what if you live in Utah? Stay out of Florida. Well, what if you live in Miami? There are things that are within your control, but also beyond your control. If you live in Miami, your structure has to be different than the guy that lives in Pennsylvania. The guy that lives in Pennsylvania's structure has got to be different than the guy that lives in Missouri or Ohio or Minnesota. How do you know that stuff? Well, because it takes time. It takes time. It takes experience to recognize that, you know what, I live in kind of a bad area to be an owner operator. That kind of thing. I leave gas cans full of water in the back of my pickup truck once of gas in them for the gas smell. Just start watching who complains about water and fuel locally. LOL. I've heard about that. I may or may not have done that myself. My foundation is on a seismic area. So when they build a building in a seismic zone, they got to be able to sway, they got to be able to be flexible, right? That's the other thing. Your foundation needs to be flexible. If you absolutely have to be home every other day, it doesn't take much to shake up that foundation. But if your foundation allows you to like take a month off or to work 30 days for that month, to get things done, then, you can do that. Sorry I'm late. I will have to watch the replay more than CDN. That's what happened to that driver. He fueled 180 gallons, went in for a shower and breakfast, came out with 2 empty tanks. Yeah, don't do that. What are the best states with freight outbound today? That is a great question. You want to know about step deck there, sir? Let's do that. That's a good. That's yeah. Get me off the track. That's good. That's a good idea. Let's look here. See if the DAT board is not having issues. It was having issues earlier. All right, log in. Okie dokie. All right, Ratman, you want let's see. Let's do step deck for good old. Let's do flatbed and step deck for good old Ratman Road in there. Let's do decks. There we go. Let's take van specialized out. You ain't got no special van. All right. Alabama. Alabama's 841 going in and 2867 out. Georgia's good, 1537 in, 2088 out, which, numbers like that are good for consistency. Illinois, surprisingly, 1143 in, 1233 out. Louisiana's not too bad. Kentucky, no. Kansas, no. Mississippi, 237 in and 1596 coming out. So the Southeast is still on fire. North Carolina, 1088 in, 1308 out. So, Ratman, if you could choose, Carolinas are both good. 543 in, 2558 coming out on South Carolina. Texas, 2734 in and 3329 out. Virginia's pretty no, Virginia. Virginia is always kind of a dumb thing. Washington is 182 in and 163 out. You don't want that. Southeast, my friend, Texas and Southeast are still pretty dang good. Let's look at let's take flatbed out, step deck out, van specialize, van standard. See what that looks like. Look at Arizona, 390 in, 917 out. California, ratios are changing there, 21 in and 3197 out. And you can tell when they stop paying well to go into California. Georgia is 1690 in and 3312 coming out. Florida is got high volumes, but it's still a offset ratio. Kansas isn't bad. Let's see what Missouri's doing. 789 in and 847 out. Gotta love Missouri. North Carolina, 1240 in, 1625 out. Ohio, finally. Ohio is finally leveling out. 1848 in and 1841 out. Finally. Ohio's been kind of a crap show here lately. 604 in, 1327 out for South Carolina. Tennessee is really good. 1052 coming in and 1722 out. Texas, 3977 in and 4351 out. Virginia, look at you, 782 in and 1100 coming out. So yeah. Let's do reefer. Reefer is Arizona's looking good on reefer too. Imagine that's probably because of produce. California, the ratios are good. Georgia. Kansas. Missouri. Volumes are down though. I mean, these are all hundreds instead of thousands. Texas, 1560 going in and 1632 out. Illinois, let's look at Illinois. 911 in, 869 out. So reefer is still kind of being dumb. So there you go. Hope that helps. Whoops. That second employee is a massive step, a lot to learn and prepare for. Payroll breakdowns, laws in different states. Yep, it's a lot. TC Bond says you will own nothing and like it. Yeah, that's what this high fuel is going to do, right? God forbid someone steals fuel, empties the tank in the heat with the fur baby in the truck, and kills the AC while inside shower. I would go full John Wick. Yeah, I mean that's definitely a threat. You know, there was a time where I wanted a dog in the truck, but I mean, let's say your APU goes out and you're stuck for the weekend. Are you going to get a hotel? You got to keep the truck idling because you might be able to sit there in the heat for a minute, but that dog can't. I'm in sunny East Kansas watching bunnies frolic around while I have my coffee. Hope everyone else is having a nice morning. Besides that poor driver got ripped off. Yikes, poor dude. Gracias. I may roll towards Ratman, any southeast, Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, Carolinas. I know you don't 100% choose where you go to get out of the house, but man, pick the one for go southeast. Good morning. Better rates in an area. Now that's a significant advantage. You can move your business to an area where the money is better. Not many other business owners can do that. And that is true. Insurance. It's cheaper to insure a truck in authority in North Dakota than it is California. California might be a decent freight lane, depending on how you run it, but the insurance is going to be astronomical. Your cost of living is going to be astronomical. Working trailer issue, got a lead. Well, good. I hope it gets remedied soon there. Hi, Steve. These inbound outbound numbers are based on the main cities. So larger states, you may have account for deadhead to a major city. That is absolutely true. That's the case with Texas. You don't want to be in West Texas. You want to be near Dallas or Houston. That kind of thing. So yes, that is true. But those kind of tell me, and so I believe a lot of brokers look at those state ratios just in general. And they look in the markets, right? I do have access to that information, but that I didn't want to bust that out because I was just looking in generalities. And so when I look at, like, Georgia is another example of what you bring up. Savannah, Atlanta area, but maybe further away, you don't know, right? Alabama, Birmingham, obviously, or that's the thing. So let's say you look at load ratios out of Alabama, but you got a 12-year-old trailer. Well, now those load ratios go way down because a lot of that is paper coming out, and they won't load old trailers when it comes to paper rolls. So you definitely have to dive deeper. But when you look at generalities, and that's the thing that Ratman, if you're still watching, keep that in mind that some of those load ratios are freight that is too heavy for your particular setup. And so knowing your equipment too, right? So like a step deck, you can't put 47,000 pounds of lumber on, but you can definitely do some equipment. So what states have the equipment, like the tractors and the excavators and the stuff that's not oversized, but obviously, boats is a big one. Boats is a good one. Being able to put boats on your step deck is that could be some money. And so what states have great boat manufacturers? Well, Missouri, right here in this area, that you've got Tracker Marine in Bolivar, in Lebanon. You have G3 out of Lebanon. You have Low boats out of Lebanon. I think there's a Ranger plant, maybe, I want to say Arkansas, but I could be wrong. Oklahoma, there's a Tahoe plant, Tahoe boat plant. Clinton, Missouri's got the Nitro boats. And then the trailers, like trailer manufacturers, like your utility trailers, those are also so you find the states that are, Texas has got a lot of those trailer manufacturers. So, and then the raw materials going in to make these boats, to make the trailers, to make the excavators, whatever. That crypto stuff everything's taken a hit. My Robinhood numbers are so sad, I don't even look at them anymore. Yeah, boats are. I know other step deck guys that are loving the boats. Good morning, Shannon. Again, that takes time, it takes knowledge, it takes experience, and the ability to look at a picture and be able to interpret it. So that's the key, and that's the point of the video, is that Living Freed was right. It takes time to develop, because if you don't have a steady foundation, then when fuel spikes or rates drop or both, you still need to be able to survive. And then the willingness. Okay, what's the number of when you stop? Like what price does fuel have to go to before you call it a wrap? What is that number? Um, that's the number, right? Are you willing to do more work for less money? That's what it takes to be an owner operator. That's what it takes to be a lease operator. As a company driver, that doesn't happen. I mean, it does on occasion. You can run a couple of loads that, may not be as easy as the 2 loads you just pulled for the same amount of money. But regardless, you're going to get that money. And that's the foundation that you have to look at. And then a great home support. If my wife didn't want me to be an owner operator, I would not be an owner operator. But I was able to present her a plan that she was on board with. So your spouse has to be into it as well, right? Because they have to understand the entrepreneurial, groove that you have to have. Anyways, Tennessee, good morning. Shannon waving. Anyways, guys, let's see, we got 48 people in here. Let's see, what time is it? We've got about 15 minutes. Maybe we'll do this. Copy. If no one wants to come in, I understand, and I'm fine with that. It will not hurt my ego. Just had a Caterpillar scraper transported from my subdivision in Pflugerville, Texas, to my property north of Oklahoma City. Oversized and overweight cost me $11,000. Wow. Good money there, right? And out of that 11,000, did you use a broker? The broker had to have their cut. Then the carrier has to do the permits, and then the pilot. If it needs a pilot, if it needs an escort, then the cost of fuel and all that. So, but yeah, do what Shannon says. hit the like, hit the thumbs up, and I'm going to let that link sit there for a minute. And if no one wants to come in, we will end the feed because I got stuff to do. Done. Thank you. And if you don't like this video, hit the thumbs down twice because you're extra mad. Make sure you do that. Remember one time someone said, well, it just unclicks it if you do that. Like, oh, nothing gets by you, does it? That's why it's called a joke, right? That's why it's called a joke. Thank you, SST. In other news, it's been hot. I mowed 2 lawns yesterday. That was fun. Helped a person move. That was fun because it's been absolutely insanely hot. Trucker Jason, good morning. If you have animals, make sure you're not walking them on the pavement. And this time of day. And watch your tires. Watch your tires, guys. If they're not properly inflated, they're going to blow, especially if you got retreads. Fuel caution drive you out of business. Instead, what fuel rate will it take before carriers are setting rates versus supply and demand? That's a good comment there, CDN. I think it's more of a willing, right? I think it's more of a willing. If you're making, I saw that, a lot of people like the boast on their gross numbers. Well, I made, 300 something thousand. Okay, but why don't you put the fact that you probably spent 150,000 in fuel? Why don't you put that out there? And that's what a lot of people don't do. I made, that's exactly why I got blame shifted. That's exactly why me and a couple other YouTubers got blamed for someone else's failure, because we didn't put out the real numbers. Because someone at the carry that he went to told him the gross numbers. Oh man, I grossed 300,000. Not realizing that 300,000 was before carrier's cut. Then when you break that down, you break down fuel, guess what? That's a net of 50 grand. Can you survive off of 50 grand? Is everything around you at your house and your health insurance and all that, can that be done with 55 grand? Are you willing to do that for 50 grand? Are you willing to go through all this trouble? And that's the thing. If price of fuel gets up to $8 a gallon, there's a lot of people like, it's not worth it. They could stay in business, but at that point, it's not worth it. Underpay a neighborhood kid to mow the lawn. You can't find those anymore, Dutch. I know things are different in your country, but that's difficult. No broker, specialized heavy haul, dealt directly with Caterpillar to get the move done. Well, that's good. Is a blue heeler a good trucking dog? I have no idea. Standing here in Edwardsville, Illinois, waiting on the agents to get up so I can get the rate con 2,900 for 900 miles, but I have to go to PA. 2,900. Let's do some math. Truck for life. We love to do math, right? So 2,900 times 0.65, 1,885. How many? So how far is it? Let's see. What part of PA are you going to? How many miles? How many loaded miles do that? And I'll get to your question here in a second, TC. Oh, that's after Landstar's cut. Well, make me look like a fool. Why don't you? So 2,900 divided by 900. 322. So that's a good rate. About 80 cents a mile in fuel costs. So there you go. What's it look like coming out of Edison, New Jersey? I'll get to that in a second. I want to answer TC Bob's question. How do you feel about putting around at 55 while hauling a load? It depends. There's some danger to that. So back in the band days, we got to open up for MOD, which I don't know if you guys don't know your metal. MOD is fronted by the lead singer named Billy Milano, who was actually one of the original he was the original member of SOD, which is a famous thrash, roots band. And he told me that he lives in Texas, and he said he drives everywhere 55. He said he gets people yelling at him and all that. But the way people are driving these days, and this was like 10 years ago, mind you, the way people are driving these days, that would be extremely dangerous. So if you want to conserve fuel, find the sweet spot of that particular truck and then stick with that. But have the ability, that's why I don't believe in governing trucks, have the ability to up the speed if needed. So if you're in a 75, 80 mile per hour state, which there's a lot of them out there now, doing 55 could be that's a huge, because people are doing 80 in an 80 state. Gas prices are not. They're still flying down the interstate. So would I do it personally? No. Is it a good method to save on fuel? Yes. However, if you're doing 55 through Pennsylvania, that truck's going to work harder trying to keep up with them hills and mountains. So in a flat state with a light load, do 58, 62, you'd be good to go. Been past 2 auction sites. They have it absolutely packed with trucks, heavy equipment, right? Quick question. If you drive less than 150 miles, is it required to do e-log? It depends on the radius. It's got to be within your radius in the point of, if it's your home terminal. So like if your home terminal is St. Louis and you do a 150-mile radius, you still have to have the e-log to count the 14-hour. Only the ag rule allows you to not worry about an e-log. But you still have to have documentation. So no, you're still required to do an e-log. I have to get out of here, everyone. Have a good day. Nothing, Whitney. What's it look like coming out of Edison, New Jersey? Let's take a look at that. Let's see here. Search loads. Edison and J. Let's do 150-mile radius for today. For van. All right. 2,059 results. So let's edit that to 50-mile. 50. Search. 868. So volumes are through the roof. So you should be able to negotiate something. Let's do highest rate. Where is the highest rate? I very rarely look for a load on the actual computer. Highest rate is Bensalem, Pennsylvania to Kennewick, Washington, 2709 on the miles. They've got that offered out at 6,500. 30-day is 69. I would ask for 72. Go from there. Washington, Oregon, Montana, Idaho, Hermiston. A lot of stuff coming out of Newark. So blankets and straps required. So you can definitely ask. I would ask for 75 on that then. Um, oh, the broker's only got 2 stars. Pickup hours 8 to 2. Dock hours 9 p.m. Displays and fixtures picks up Monday by 2 p.m. Deliver on Friday at 9 p.m. Only 6 blankets and 6 straps required. So let's do the math on that. So 2,700 divided by 5 days. That's only 540 miles a day. That's doable. There you go. So now it's putting you in Kennewick, Washington. I don't know what that looks like coming out. Let's see. Let's southeast is where it's at, right? So what are loads paying going to southeast? Here's New Brunswick to Albuquerque, New Mexico. I would not do that. 3,500. Click on that. 30-day on that's 47. A lot of stuff coming out of Town, Pennsylvania, El Paso. That's only a 30-mile deadhead. Offer is 3,400. 30-day is 5,300. So it's for 2133 miles. So now on that long haul run, so that's 6,500. If you can get $7,000 for that PA to Washington, that's seven. That's going to be your whole week, right? Unless you can find a shorty for Saturday and Sunday, which that could be a challenge, depending on how Washington is on their load. So, and that's Landstar Ranger, so they probably aren't even the original broker on that. Oh, they might be. Oh wait, no, that's not it. I'm sorry. That was the load that was the one going to El Paso. Yeah, so so you look at that. Now, are they going to pay 75, 7? I doubt it, but you can at least try. So that's kind of how I look at that. Let's see. So the volumes look pretty good. The rates aren't too bad. So if you can get $7,000 for that for 2,700 miles, what is that? 7,000 divided by 2,700 miles. It's 259 a mile, which it's a long run. So if you can get it for $7,000, the offer 6,500 divided by 2,700 miles. That's only 240 a mile. So it depends on the rates coming out. So I would not do that load for less than 7. I would tell them have a nice day if the volumes out of that part of Washington are okay. But it's a light load, so there's that, right? So that's how I look at that. Hey Fran, what's up? I know a lot of brokers say they don't care about fuel costs. Well, too bad. Fuel is taking up 55 to 60% of the rate. They need to start to care, learning, and change time, right? If their main trucks that they use go out of business, it doesn't do them any good, right? With fuel surcharge being around 80 cents a mile, your Landstar cut is close to 73%. That's actually a good point, Rob. If I run my truck at 55, it stays in 11th gear with 1,400 RPM. 62 is the sweet spot with the Peterbilt. Right. Every truck has a sweet spot. A lot of the newer trucks with the automatics, you can cruise at 72 or 68 to 72 at 1,100 RPMs. And that's where your money is, right? That's where your money is. Yeah, they have minimum speed laws. Jerome, I hope I answered your question. Oh, okay, yeah, I did. About the short haul. Pale Rider TV, what's up? I missed your live feed on Friday. My suggestion is have the diesel costs at or origin and destination along with mileage for lane. If the fuel, def, tolls, etc., exceed 50% of the rate, teach the broker reality why you need extra for fuel. There you go. And a lot of people don't know how to educate. A lot of people don't know how to tell that, hey, broker, my fuel sucks. And then they go, well, sucks to be you, right? Whereas you go, hey, I've got tolls, I've got this, and so the revenue is over this much percentage of what I need, blah, 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 and then broker's going to do one of two things. They're like, wow, this dude's kind of on his game. I want him to hold my load. Or they're going to be like, wow, this dude knows too much. I want to get rid of this conversation as soon as possible. They're giving me 77% on fuel, 77 cents on fuel. Exactly, Tennessee. That's why I was laughing. Those guys are lugging their engine, old school mentality prior to death. Modern engines require to run hot. That means RPMs. And true, if you're running your RPMs low, going up hills, truck's going to overheat. That's the thing. So if you got a manual, you got to kick it up to ninth gear to get up a hill, or kick it down to eighth. I'm always on the high side of the RPMs when I'm pulling a hill like that, so the engine fan will do its job. And you can't do that running at 55. It's a bigger challenge to do that. So it just depends on how well you know your truck and the weight of the load and everything. But yeah, you gotta always hated the states that were 55 miles per hour and you had a heavy load. I once had a heavy load going through Ohio when it was still 55 for all trucks in Ohio. Man, that sucked. Man, that truck didn't. I had no good fuel mileage. I was trying to stay around 55. So no kids anymore in your city that mow lawns or wash cars to earn some extra cash? Nope. Nope. There's a couple of little tiny kids that will do a lemonade stand on the end of the street. But a lot of people have created contractor businesses, and so they want to mow your lawn, right? They have the signs out. But we've been trying for a while to get someone to mow our lawn at the other house, and can't do it. Surely, if you're doing 55s, the only way to bring profit to your business, then there's a problem. There you go, right? Different agents, different surcharges they offer. Yep. I'm tired of these East-West Coast run turnarounds. And look, there are easier ways to make 240 a mile. There are easier ways to make, so $7,000, divide that by 5 days. Divided by 5, that's 1,400 a day. That's pretty good. Now, if you're going by their original rate, 6,500 divided by 5, that's 1,300 a day. So let's say I did that load times 0.8, because I get 80%. Actually, I get 82, but we'll keep math simple. That's 1,040 a day for me. But then fuel, what's the fuel going to cost, right? So if I'm doing, $400 a day on fuel, so let's do that. 2,700 divided by 6 miles a gallon. That's 450 gallons total for the trip. Divide that by 5. That comes out to 90 gallons a day times 6, $540 a day. So if I'm bringing home 11 or 1040, so 1040 minus 540, it's $500. I don't know why I need a calculator for that. Whatever. That's a $500 a day net to me on that particular load. Guess what? There are easier ways for me to net $500 a day than going coast to coast. That is the beauty of short haul. That's how you have to look at that. So I'm not a big, that's people are like, well, Steve only does the same small loads, blah, blah. Well, that's why. I'm at Cisco in Cincinnati, so glad to be working. Ah, yes, you got a long day ahead of you, Shannon. A water pump and a couple of hoses and all new batteries. I might be needing new batteries. This load paid $5,300 from Seattle to Edison, New Jersey at 30% to me, $1,590 to me, and $3,100 in fuel. Left $610 to the company and had a $630 per mile. This equates to worry for me riding to the end. There you go. Tennessee, look. Tennessee is a good. He does the math, right? If he had a truck, he'd be over here in a heartbeat because he's doing the math. He's doing the work. Tennessee is terrible with 55. Mass cars go 65, trucks 55, Mississippi 70, and Arkansas 65. I'm so happy. I'm only in Tennessee for 2 minutes. Nobody does 55 or 65. They're doing 80. That is true. That is true. But do the math, right? Tennessee is paying attention. Yes, Dutch. We have a longevity bonus, so I'm at 82%. So, because I've been here the longest, everybody else bailed of the original crew. Now they went on to get a lot of guys went on to get their own authority, but we have lost a few to equipment costs. We have lost a couple to personal reasons, not with the business, but with their own homes, and then we've lost. But we're still at 20, so we do have 2 trailers empty. So if you got a truck, come on over. Is the CEO of Creek Carrier admitted the first thing he does when he wakes up in the morning isn't looking at the current fuel costs? Well, I mean, Crete pays different fuel prices too. That's the other element to that. Mega carriers have they have a they have an edge over you one truck operations, guys. So, anyways, guys, I think we're gonna leave this. Everyone have a good day. Be safe. Um, you know, keep situational awareness. People are stealing fuel now. And, if you want to succeed, it takes time to get there. There's no such thing as overnight success. If there is overnight success, then, it's not sustainable. So they are hard. A lot of people don't want that truth, though. A lot of people don't do the numbers because they don't want the truth. How do I know? Because I was once like that. So later, everyone. That's a good point. Truck for life. We're out of here. So, people, strength for today, hope for tomorrow. Peace.